I know what's gone on previously in my previous prison sentences. I wrote a letter to my wife, and it was a detailing letter. Yeah.
You're right. It's all right.
I want my children to know that I haven't. Yeah, this whole Brexit thing when you know you're judging them on Brexit they don't know nothing about it. Who knows about Brexit? Yeah, no one's got ain't clue what Brexit is. Yeah, you watch Question Time, it's comedy. Well, you no clearer when Jeremy Corbyn exp. I got a clue. No one knows what it is. It's like this mad riddle that no one knows what it is. Right, so what's happened to that? __ David Common, who called it on Let's Be Fair. I think we're referring to our former Prime Minister. Yeah, but what how comes he can scuttle off? He called all this on. Yeah, he has no regret. Where is he? He's in Europe and I with his trots up. Yeah, where is the Giza? I think he should be held. It should be held, for it's a valid point. A lot of people do feel that all politics. Danny Dyer has never been one to bite his tongue. He says what he thinks no matter the consequences, and right now he's livid. Tommy Robinson's arrest isn't just another news story to him. It hits deeper. It's about power, control, and the fear of speaking out. Let's be real, how many public figures have the nerve to say what he's saying? By a communist tyrannical government who do not care about freedom. Everything this country was built on in the Magna has been abolished and trampled all over by Kosama. Okay, the two-tier police in the judiciary. The world is watching right now. This is the most important moment in any of our battles. I've been doing this for 15 years. It's led us here. The path has led us here to the 26th of October. Beyond the 26th of October, I'll be in jail by the 28th, 29th. Yeah, maybe I'll be in jail before, but my film will be ready. Okay, the demonstration will be planned. Music will be planned. Security will be planned. A spectacle will already be planned and put in place. So whatever thoughts they have, it's going ahead. I will be their right hook off. I crook. I'll be there now. Most celebrities stay silent, afraid of stirring the pot, but Dyer isn't holding back. He's openly questioning why Robinson was jailed and why those in charge seem so desperate to keep him quiet. He's not tiptoeing around the issue. He's calling it out directly to him. There's something bigger and more dangerous at play, and he's making sure people don't ignore it. Tommy Robinson, real name Stephen Yaxley Lenon, has been charged under the Terrorism Act. He hugged supporters waiting outside for him, telling them he was there for telling the truth. Now one of them asked, "What will happen next?" And he said, "I'll see what happens, mate. I don't expect to come back out here. It's not often you see someone from mainstream entertainment take this kind of stand. But D isn't just another actor sounding off. He sees injustice and refuses to look the other way. He knows the backlash is coming, and he knows the media will twist his words, but does that bother him? Not in the slightest. To him, staying silent is no different from being complicit. 25, but I'm entering my third month for solitary during firemen within Woodhill Prison after 42 days. They had to go to the government after 42 days of isolation. So whose decision is it? Because I know people get frustrated with the prison. It's not the prison. All decisions to do me, and I can do the jail. They're coming from the government. That was I had to give a written response to my op on my isolation after 42 days. It was going to the government for them to continue doing it. So I wrote my written response, who said, "This doesn't have to happen when I come in here." I sat down with a psychiatrist, and I said to her, "What's 9 months of solitary confinement going to do to me?" She said, "It's going to be devastating for your mental health." So I said, "So why are they doing it?" And 2 weeks know this week I sat down. Every 2 weeks I have a meeting with the governors and the mental health team. Are there case these are people who are trying to get some kind of vicarious thrill from street violence that people like Tommy Robinson promote, and those attacking Jess Phillips, who I am proud to call a colleague and a friend, not protecting victims. Jess Phillips has done 1,000 times more than they've even dreamt about when it comes to protecting victims of sexual abuse throughout her entire career. And so, just as I took on the criminal justice system and the institutions when I was chief prosecutor, I'm prepared to call out this for what it is. We've seen this playbook many times. Whipping up of intimidation and threats of violence for most prisoners, even those convicted of serious crimes. This kind of treatment is uncommon, but for Robinson it's his reality. No phone calls, no visits from his ex-wife, just the same four walls closing in on him day after day. This level of isolation is usually reserved for the most dangerous criminals, yet here it is used on a man who dared to speak his mind, and he knows exactly why he said it before. He believes the government isn't just trying to lock him up, they want him erased, because Tommy Robinson isn't just another inmate. He's a symbol of defiance, a symbol of speaking out no matter the cost, and to those in power that makes him a threat. But when the poison of the far right leads to serious threats to Jess Phillips and others that in my book a line has been crossed, I enjoy the cut and thrust of politics, the robust debate that we must have, but that's got to be based on facts and truth, not on lies, not on those who are so desperate for attention that they're prepared to debase themselves and their country so this government will get on with the job of protecting victims, including child sexual abuse, mandatory reporting, accelerating the processes. But what I won't tolerate is this discussion and debate based on lies without calling it out. So the real question is, why, if he's just a fringe figure causing trouble, why go to such extremes? Why isolate him like this? Why treat him as if he's a national security risk? The answer is obvious. They're afraid of what he knows, afraid of what he says, afraid of what he represents, and they'll stop at nothing to silence him. All the Times newspaper sharing their article, look what we wrote in 2019 about Islamic prison gangs. Now Gerard Batten made me his advisor on prison because I had spoke very vocally since 2013 when I come out of Woodhill prison, a maximum security jail which houses some of the worst terrorists in our country, and I saw how they controlled the entire prison. He was battered down for having me as an advisor, someone who had been to 10 UK jails, had seen firsthand, had spoke to staff in every one of these prisons to understand the recruitment, how they recruit, how they act, all of these things. Beaten down, I made a video in 2017 showing that Islamic terrorists and jihadists are being housed next to British primary schools. Even the most hardened criminals are allowed phone calls. They get to see their families, hear familiar voices, and hold on to some sense of connection. But Robinson, nothing. No contact, no updates, just silence, and that's exactly the point. They don't want him reaching anyone. They don't want him speaking about what's happening inside those prison walls. They want him erased, and they're doing everything they can to make it happen. In that video, I made a point of saying you can have him under surveillance if he wants to get a knife and kill kids. He can. This latest terrorist was under surveillance. They were fing him with guns. He still got to stab 2 people. What? Why has he been released? Why has he been released? Do you know there's 800 other live? What are they so desperate to keep hidden? Because Tommy Robinson isn't just another inmate. His imprisonment feels like a message, and at the heart of it all is Keir Starmer. The accusations are mounting. Many believe KSTA is ensuring Tommy Robinson remains behind bars, silenced and out of the public eye. Why? Because Robinson has never shied away from speaking uncomfortable truths the government would rather keep hidden. He's exposed corruption, called out the establishment, and built a massive following in the process. That kind of Influence is a threat to those in power. And right now no one holds more power than the Prime Minister himself, who are thinking about the 26th of October maybe. You're worried, maybe you're scared, maybe. You think you might lose your job, maybe. You think you might get put in prison. We will organize this properly like we did the last ones. You've seen what happens at our events, you've seen the celebration. Let's send a message to the world, to core especially, that the fight is not gone. Okay, not in us anyway. I am traveling back to the UK for literally the fight of my life. I'm fully aware of that they may thr me to the dogs in prison. I will have to fight for my survival. So men right now are fighting for their lives in prison, who have been falsely imprisoned, unlawfully imprisoned, pressured and forced and blackmailed to plead guilty to crimes they haven't committed. Starmer isn't just a bystander. He's being accused of orchestrating the harshest possible conditions for Robinson's solitary confinement. No phone calls, no visits, every tool available to strip him of his voice, and people are paying attention. This is no longer just about Robinson, it's about what happens when someone challenges the government. Is this about justice, or is it about control? 9 billion are gone about the NHS and money. Get rid of these jihadis, get them off our street. Why are we waiting for them to kill and murder us continually? There's 800 live terror investigations now. 16 Islamic terrorist attacks have been stopped since 2017. You know what they've done. You have censored and got rid of all the people that talk about it. Our biggest concern has been about all the hate you've just deleted. KY Hopkins, for what? For a few truthful tweets about Stormy, who's a homophobic Bidger anyway, who actually promotes real racism against white people, and in you've deleted them. Starmer silence speaks volumes. If Robinson were truly insignificant, why take such extreme measures to keep him locked away? The harsher the punishment, the more it looks like fear of what he knows, fear of what he could reveal. Locking Robinson up hasn't silenced him, but if anything, it's amplified his voice. Outside those prison walls, millions still stand with him. They're not backing down, they're demanding answers. They're demanding his release. The Fari activist Tommy Robinson has been jailed for 18 months for contempt of court after admitting to repeating false allegations about a Syrian refugee. Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yashi Linon, continued to repeat the claims even after he was successfully sued for libel in 2021, including in a film which has been viewed millions of times. Handing down the sentence, the judge said Robinson's actions suggested he regards himself as above the law. This isn't some fringe movement, it's a wave of support that crosses backgrounds and beliefs. People see what's happening in there. Outraged, they see a man being isolated, stripped of his rights, and treated like a dangerous criminal for speaking out. And that only fuels the anger. Starman knows this. He knows Robinson's influence hasn't faded in confinement. If anything, it's grown, and that presents a real isn't just about him, it represents something far bigger. It's about a government that punishes those who dare to speak out. It's about a justice system being weaponized to silence opposition, and the man seen as orating it all. Starmer, this outrage isn't confined to social media, it's spreading into real conversations, protests, and a deepening distrust of the government. People feel betrayed. They see a prime minister who refuses to acknowledge what's happening, who seems indifferent to the fact that a man is being cut off, isolated, and silenced. Don Keith here at Downing Street. I want you to all to just take notice of the people who have shown up for Tommy Robinson today, locked in solitary CONF. A political prisoner, a man the government does not want you to hear from. They're trying to keep him silent as much as possible, but it doesn't matter that Tommy's locked up, because his message continues on, and even more so now because the tyranny of the British government can be seen through what they're doing to Tommy Robinson. Psychological torture he's not eating. Eating well I'm unable to see certain visitors if they have social media platforms. Visitors are selected by the prison who he can and cannot see all forms of psychological torture that they're putting Tommy Robinson through today. But I want you to look at the people who turned out to see Tommy Robinson today, who once believed in Starmer. That belief is gone. His time as Prime Minister is unraveling. Approval ratings are crashing. People aren't just frustrated, they're fed up. The country is in turmoil, soaring costs, rising crime, a system in shambles, and yet Starmer is fixated on keeping Robinson locked away. But why? Why is the Prime Minister so determined to silence one man so it doesn't matter? The British people are always going to thrive. They're always going to win out, and the more tyranny you put against them, the more backlash you're going to feel as the government. God bless Tommy Robinson. Free Tommy Robinson today. The calls for Robinson's release aren't dying down. They're growing louder by the day. More people are seeing what's happening and demanding justice. This isn't just about Robinson anymore, it's about a government that suppresses dissent. It's about a leader who dodges real questions and refuses to be held accountable. Starmer can ignore the protests, the petitions, and the anger for now, but it won't last forever. His grip on power is weakening, and this could be the defining moment of his leadership, because when a leader prioritizes silencing critics over fixing real problems, people notice, and when they've had enough, they make sure their voices are heard. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like and subscribe to the channel.